Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben here with Brian to talk about episode number 3 of Survivor 48. And it's a crazy episode, I would say. We had the Vula, the failed tribe that we're talking about, our disaster tribe, I guess, for the season. Something we've seen probably too much of, I would say, in the new era at this point. I know personally, I was not a fan of some stuff in this episode, and definitely kind of snapped me out of I've been praising the new era for the last 3 or 4 seasons, and up until this point, I've been really loving the season. But I think there's some stuff in this episode that I did not like, and I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah, okay, I totally agree with you. We've kind of talked about it to death, right? That the 3-tribe format lends itself to this with the steamrolling. That being said, I do think they fairly egregiously put these tribes together in a way that was just not fair at all. And, voting off Kevin last week was very fun. Not good for challenge strength, though, at all. So it's just there's no wonder there's a swap, right? It really feels like the swap is literally the pull the ripcord. We have to, this is going to be too much of a steamroll type of thing. Because did that, God, all these names are blending together. The Purple Tribe with Kenzie and Q on it. Did they lose 3 in a row to start? They lost 4 in a row, right?
No. They didn't. They lost, I think, 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4. Well, because they lost with Bonner, right? But then someone got medevaced.
I guess they did win. I guess they did technically lose 4 in a row. Maybe they lost 4 out of 5. Let's do some quick Googling here.
Well, I just mean maybe because they had 3 people left who were well, they could still conceivably win a challenge. But with Lulu, they were yeah, no shot. This tribe's not winning a challenge. And now same thing with this tribe. It's just no chance.
Yeah, it looks like they did lose 4 in a row. They won the reward challenge on episode 4, but then lost the immunity challenge. And then they finally won the immunity in episode 5. So they actually this was a situation where they didn't do a swap to try to save them, but maybe the random kind of evacuation maybe changed their situation, because in that case they only needed to eliminate 1 more person before a 13-person merge, whereas here they're kind of gone 3 for 3 on eliminations, and if they lose 2 more, if they lose 1 more, they'll get rid of somebody, and that would be okay. But if they lost another one, then we'd have a Stephanie and Bobby John situation where they'd have to probably do a card making challenge, or who knows, maybe they'll just randomly flip a coin and 1 person will lose their vote and the other person just wins the vote by default based on what we saw in this episode.
Yeah, how great would that be, Ben? All right, you guys lost again, just the 2 of you, but one of you is going on a journey. It's tribal council. Oh, only 1 vote. This person gets voted off by default.
Okay, so do you want to talk about the Yahtzee game, or do you want to talk about the craziness of how these voting rules work? Because I think both of those things I am ready to wreck.
First, I do want to I just get your opinions and vibes. Do you think they're only doing the swap because they feel like there's no shot for this tribe? What do you think Survivor's philosophy is these days on this thing? Because Oolong, one, I feel like production did legitimately think Oolong could win an immunity challenge up to a certain point. Honestly, even when it was the 3 of them, they were all pretty in shape. It was they could win a challenge. but I also think they wanted to see, like, was this really going to happen? You know,
Mhm.
like I think to the point where I think like they pushed the merge back to see if it would happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that here they're probably looking at their production design and they're like, well, all of our challenges are designed for 3 tribes,
Right.
and we really can't easily change them to be for like 2 tribes, right?
Mhm.
And if they lose again, which I would say is extremely likely if they were to keep the tribes the same, then we're down to 2 people left on the tribe. And it's like, can we run this 5th challenge with a 2-2-2 situation? Maybe they're looking at that like this like challenge fundamentally does not work with only 2 people per tribe.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we have to do a swap. And number wise, if they have to keep 3 tribes, it makes sense to do it now before like trying to push it back one round. Because now they can just swap into 3 tribes of 5, which is presumably what they're going to do.
And do you think like maybe on Philippines it was always the intention to swap at 14, and that's why
Um,
we did that?
yeah, they probably. I think they probably on Philippines were planning on swapping to 2 tribes at 14, but
Mhm.
like doing a real swap that actually like mixed them up. And simply because of the way that it ended up playing out with that thing, they're like, okay, let's just have Malcolm go to one and Denise go to the other.
Which I think was fine, and I think it worked out well for the season, honestly.
I think it makes. I mean, obviously, like we didn't end up really seeing Tandang in their original form go to a tribal council pre-merge. Like all of that, internal drama didn't really get tested until the merge hit, and then you have like the RC vote and stuff like that. But like, it was interesting, I guess, to have Calabao go to pre-merge tribal councils in their mostly original orientation because we had spent 4 episodes setting them up from a storyline perspective. I think the downside you have here now is both of these other tribes, we've gotten so much strategic setup for like what their orientations are like, and it's at least not going to see like payoff in terms of like we're not going to see these configurations of 6 people, either of them go to tribal council. So like maybe some of those storylines will continue into the swap tribes or into the merge, but like the kind of like pieces that have been set up where we have like the 4 split into 2, we have like kind of Thomas playing this like very middle of the road kind of like game, kind of like trying to play both sides, but like undermine Joe's potential with Eva. Like a lot of this stuff simply might just not pay off at all.
Yeah. And I think that's a shame, but I do think that having a swap here will make like an interesting, you know, middle part of the show.
Yeah. And I'm going to be, honest, I'm going to be hard on the on Survivor for their decisions they made from a production standpoint in this episode, both with the journey and with like how Tribal Council played out. But like from a long term, entertainment perspective, I do think that Justin going at the end of this episode is the like best case for TV. I think that he was the like least interesting person to me from this tribe. Keeping both Say and Mary around, I think, is going to progress a lot of long term stories. So I while I'm upset with how we got there, I think that like the ultimate, result is probably for the best. Although maybe they bury Justin as a character here and they like really hype up the Say and Mary stuff specifically because it turns out this way. In which case, like, at least they kind of edited this kind of clusterfuck into something that makes sense.
Yeah, and I really liked Justin. We joked about it. My first jobs for like the first 7 years of my life, all pizza shop, also from Massachusetts. So, I really enjoyed what he was bringing to the table. I follow him on TikTok now. He makes a lot of fun behind the scenes of his restaurant content. So hopefully he'll have more success with that than he did on Survivor. But I agree with you. I do think that Mary and Say both staying is better for us as viewers and podcasters.
Yeah. So I guess do you want to like quickly go through the kind of like bits and bobs that we get from the two winning tribes, and then we can kind of like really dive in. I think you muted yourself.
Jeez Louise, my apologies. Do you want to start with the orange or the purple tribe there?
I think the orange tribe is a little bit more simple, at least in kind of the moving parts we see. We get like some stuff with Mitch in particular, basically like re-solidifying the Mitch and Kath. What's
Chris,
Chris? No, not Chrissy.
not Chris.
Charity. Sorry, I almost said Cassidy, but it's Charity.
Charity.
The Mitch and Charity bond, and then also them being like, we need to take the other two strong dudes on this to the merge with us. So they'll be like shields in front of us, basically.
Right. Which I think that's smart. And I am enjoying Mitch quite a bit. I think he's kind of a bit of a throwback. I know he's been applying for like 20 years or something ridiculous. And I definitely could have seen him playing in any era. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think it is very brave that he's on a television show that like is a lot about expressing yourself and giving your thoughts, and he has this speech impediment. I don't know. I think that's cool. I don't know. I don't know how you feel.
No, I agree. I think that like I think he's definitely a kind of unique person that we've not really seen on the show. I think that like I personally did not come into the season expecting like Mitch and Charity as a duo, because like they don't really like to me like immediately jump out as like these people I would expect to work together.
No, I agree, but it is fun that a Survivor odd couple is always a fun thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so in preparation for this kind of finally making some strategic plays, Mitch goes out fishing on the boat with Kyle and basically pitches him this idea. And I think Kyle is obviously very happy to be to have like when you're in a 4-person alliance against the two, and then the two people on the bottom come to you and are like, "Hey, we want to work with you." It's like perfect. I am in a golden position, and you have an idol. It's like I think we definitely have to talk about like Kyle as being in one of the better positions in the game right now. Obviously, could severely change at the swap. Like he could easily get swap screwed, but from like a high level position, I think we have to look at him as a huge contender.
And I think what could prevent him from being swap screwed is everyone's cool with him and nothing had to get revealed. So he ends up on a beach with those two. That's fine. He can just be like, "Yeah, we were together the whole time."
Yeah,
good. It looks good for him right now.
Yeah, it's great. No, I agree. I think like them not having to go to tribal council, him not having to reveal his actual loyalties, means that he still has all of these options, and he can just basically play the swap however he wants.
Yeah, nice spot to be in, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm.
And if he is such like a likable personality, he'll probably do okay at the swap, because it's not like most of the other players in the games have had to test anything anyways. So who knows how big and in depth like their alliances are. You know what I mean?
And if he does end up like severely swap screwed, he does have an idol to bail himself out.
And he has an idol. It's all coming up, Kyle.
Yeah. Anything else from the Siva tribe? I know we'll talk about the journey and all that, but like Camilla does come back with the extra vote and reveals it to everybody.
Yeah, which is good for her. She's also someone who's just been like killing it so far. Not she hasn't had to go to tribal or anything, but she's been playing very solidly. Everyone seems to like her. What do you think of the people have been clowning on him a lot about like David, right? About him being sad that he's not financially stable, which is like, okay, I mean, get ready, everybody. There's
Mhm.
gonna be a lot of us. We're not gonna be financially stable at some point. But you know, I don't know. I felt like people were a little too hard on him, being like, yeah, I'm in this tough spot in life, and I would like to s- enter the next phase of life, but I'm not financially like able to. And I think that's a pretty like common thing to happen to people of his age, our age, like
Mhm.
where I do know a lot of people who would want to start a family, but they don't necessarily feel like they can afford to start a family and have everything work out well. So, you know, I don't know why people are clowning on him so much. I know he's like a bit of like an ego guy and like, oh, there's this jacked, handsome man complaining, but
He's
it's
a
like
Chad, as
he's a
Camilla
Chad.
said.
Yeah, he's a Chad. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, when Camilla was like, the terminally online people, I was like, oh, where's this going? She
Yeah,
said,
right. Uh-oh.
yeah, she said like the most like normie like internet reference possible. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah, I was like, oh, am I gonna have to explain this to, people?
Yeah, yeah. We have to have a segment on the podcast. Okay, what's going on here? No, but I thought that the framing of it was really kind of odd, but like basically starting it out being like, oh, Kyle is like excited for him that he lives in like a mobile home in his dad's like front yard, which is like maybe that's like a young millennial versus old millennial kind of difference.
I was like, I wish I had a trailer.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, he's like, goddamn, not paying like a New York rent. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, this is great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, David was like, no, it's not. That was so funny.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was like, I feel like I didn't really know how to take it as I was like kind of watching it because, he was like, yeah, I have like a girlfriend, but she needs me to make more money. She wants to be like a stay-at-home mom and settle down with family. And like, if I lose this game, I might come home without a girlfriend. I'm like, oh, I mean, I feel like the way that he framed it didn't like make his girlfriend seem
Yeah,
uh
great. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I feel like he definitely could have framed things a little bit like more empathetically towards her probably, but it was interesting to kind of see a different side of him.
Yeah, no, that's true. She's probably at home like, what the fuck? Like,
Mhm. Just airing me out on national TV.
so funny. Jesus. Um, that's such a good point though. You
Yeah.
really did. Hopefully things will work out.
Yeah. I mean, if he doesn't break up with him for being broke, maybe he should break up with him for like airing her out on CBS.
Yeah, that's a good point too. That was
Mhm.
unkind.
Yeah.
Um, what do you? God, that's so funny. But yeah, no, I think that's about it for this tribe. I just wanted
Yeah.
to touch on that just because it was an interesting thing.
No, 100%. Yeah. I mean, we didn't get anything from Chrissy other than like, you know, Mitch and Charity, I think, mentioned wanting to target her if they were to go to tribal council.
Yeah, the other thing we got from her was me confusing her name with Charity.
Yeah.
That's her big addition to the episode.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's got a lot of similar names, both 7 letters, both start with C and with Y. It's easy to screw up, I would say.
Both not super prominent
Mm-hmm.
in the episodes. But yeah, no, I think that's good for this tribe.
Yep.
The other tribe, a little more fun. Feel bad for Star, but what can you do?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, this was not the best episode for my winner pick. I mean, not great for yours either. I mean, she lost her vote.
Going into a swap too, not good.
Yeah, going into a swap. Yeah, not ideal. But yeah, I mean, we had I think 2 separate scenes where we have kind of Eva maybe struggling a little bit or like making some mistakes that may or may not come back to bite her. Like we said, like with the swap coming, all of the stuff that gets set up in this episode and previously in the first 3 episodes overall, like, might not even matter. But we've gotten enough Eva versus Star stuff. I feel like at least that will probably pay off. But firstly, we had Eva giving Joe like a bracelet gift after he built a bonfire for the whole tribe, in front of the whole tribe, which is the important piece.
Where was Star during this scene?
I don't know.
Why was
maybe she was filming a confessional? Maybe, hopefully she was filming a confessional. Because if she was not, like, well, actually no, because later on in the second scene, which kind of buried Eva a little bit, Eva mentions to Star, like, hey, I noticed you weren't there on the beach with us as we're doing the bonfire. Were you out here looking for an idol or an advantage? Maybe she was trying to solve her idol thing and was just unsuccessful, so we didn't really see anything from it.
Yeah, that could possibly be it. But yeah, I don't know. She shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a friendship bracelet really work out on Survivor?
They worked out on Big Brother.
Worked out on Big Brother. That's true. The last one I remember was Cass making one for Kelly for her birthday. So she got voted off pretty soon after that. So I wouldn't do it personally.
Well, is it different if the friendship bracelet is for the other player's daughter, though? Maybe that's a loophole.
Yeah. How much of a girl dad is he?
I think I think from what we've seen so far, he's very much a girl dad. Yeah.
No, I agree. So, but yeah, I don't think it looked great because, obviously Thomas and Bianca were immediately like, nope, red flag. This is, we got to split this up. So we'll see if that plays out now, obviously.
Yeah, no, and Thomas gets it. That's like Thomas's, like, second strike with Eva, and then his third strike later comes because Eva tries to strategically bond with Star, goes up to her and tries to, like, basically bait her into lying to her. Star does lie to her, and I guess, like, maybe for future contestants, right? If you know a player is lying to you and, like, not really giving you anything back, don't give them potential ammo to use against you. Just, like, pretty much, I would say, write off that relationship unless absolutely necessary at that point.
Yeah. So, no, that's a good point there. Yeah, I think the biggest thing about this tribe that I want to talk about is just, like, really appreciate Thomas being a villain. We need this. We really need it. As much as Jeff thinks we don't need it, we need it.
Yeah, great villain, absolutely. No, just completely unabashedly, like, in his confessionals, like, talking about like, basically lying to people and screwing them over, and then just, like, letting out, like, a cackling laugh.
I can't ask for more, Ben. This is what I've been begging for in the new era, and, like, Thomas is here. I'm just sad I didn't make him my winner pick, so I would either rise or fall with him.
Yeah. I mean, he's like your honorary, like, second winner pick at this point, right? I mean, like, him and Bianca are, like, basically an unbreakable duo.
They'll rise or fall together for sure.
Yes. So, even though, as Thomas does mention in confessional before giving a cackle, that he is deliberately withholding his, I believe, his steal a vote from Bianca, and even though she shared with him that she lost her vote on the journey.
Yeah, I love and appreciate him for that. Why tell? We've begged people not to tell people about stuff, and yet they just can't help themselves, Ben.
Yeah. So I guess what are your thoughts here on this? Like, obviously it's not going to matter. One, because Bianca ends up losing her vote, and then two, because of the swap. But, like, this idea from Thomas to potentially help Star and then flip and then take out Eva, and then, like, I guess at that point, like, he's thinking he's probably going to be able to, like, ride the middle between two trios, even though, like, at least Joe will probably be pretty upset with him for making that move.
Right. I don't hate it just because, I'm always like, okay, you want to be the 4 of 6, the 3 of 5, and the 2 of 3. And if you can't do that, then stealing the vote and making it happen this way is a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
But it also, to me, could be a little bit of like, I'm so bored. We haven't actually started playing the game yet. Here's like all these possibilities that I want to talk about to keep things interesting, you know?
Yeah, I think also just like keeping your options open and like trying to make sure that you're optimizing your position at every point. I think it's good instincts, even if like it doesn't really pan out in anything.
Yeah, no, agreed.
I guess the last thing from this tribe that I wanted to ask you about is, do you think Star is going to open up her cryptex before the swap, or do you think she's going to go the rest of this pre-merge without a vote? Because, like, well, I mean, I guess she could theoretically swap onto the same beach, like it's 1 in 3, but like a 2 in 3 chance that she doesn't open it before the swap happens next episode. She's just.
We know does she get to keep the thing?
I assume she gets to keep the cryptex, right? But she won't be able to like
do
do the puzzle part of it. Like she might be able, like maybe there's a way that she hears about what Say's word is and what Kyle's word is, and then is able to deduce from that like her word might be silent because they're the same letter combinations. That's like if that happens, that would be really I think kind of interesting. And like kind of a good payoff for the way that these idols worked. But I don't think that's likely. I think she probably either solves it before the swap or is screwed for the rest of the pre-merge.
Yeah. I'll say she solves it. Why not? I want her to, because I don't want her to not have a vote. It's more fun if she has a vote in an idol than if she doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like, especially like in the new era, we've seen like, especially, we look at like, what was it? The like Bruce Kelly Katura tribe, like them finding that idol like right before the swap happens, like literally 10 minutes before the boat takes them away and stuff like that. It seems like we've seen this a lot on Survivor. Tinfoil hats theory or whatever, but like, I agree. I think she probably finds it before the swap.
Yeah, underrated. That Bellow tribe was horrible at finding idols. They ever found their own, and they found like a rehidden idol on Lulu right before the merge happened. So
yeah,
crazy. Crazy. One of them could have had 2 idols if they had a little bit more gumption during the early days.
Yep.
It certainly wasn't like they had a lack of time, not ever going to tribal council.
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's like, what is Star like doing with all of her like? Because they're not going to tribal. She's like not a significant member of like the strategic conversations. She's completely not a part of this like bonfire thing that they're doing. Like, how is she not like solved this puzzle by now?
I don't know.
It doesn't seem that hard, right? Like, it doesn't seem like that hard of a puzzle.
It must be much more difficult to do in real life. Like,
I mean, maybe, but like we saw like what 3 or 4 of them kind of looked like on the screen. And one of them was like very clearly an L, and they're like, "This looks like a U," and I'm like, "What? How? In what universe is that a U?"
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to watch this kind of happen.
Yeah,
is what it is.
All right, let's talk about the journey.
Yeah. So, what'd you think of it?
This might be a controversial opinion, Brian, but I didn't love it.
Ooh, yeah, hot take.
Hot take. Not a fan of especially 2 people out of the 3 being sent on this journey against their will, not having the agency to decide whether they want to play the game or not, and the game being basically like a really complicated flipping coin.
Yeah, I can get behind any journey as long as it has an out.
Yes.
As long as you can just
agency at all.
Yeah. If you risk your vote, fine. But if you're forced to, don't like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think like this is just the fundamental kind of like issue with the way a lot of these journeys have played out. Some of them have been fine. Like I think a lot of the journeys where we watched them and we're like, could I have done without that taking up like 10 minutes of the episode? Yeah. Was it like negative or bad in any way? Not really. It was fine.
Right.
But I think like the difference between like a journey that's like fine to good in a journey that's horrible is just straight up agency. Like, and this is literally the least amount of agency you could possibly have. You didn't have, like, 2 out of the 3 of them had no choice in terms of who's going. Like, only Bianca was the one who had any kind of agency in actually going. Both Camilla and Justin, it was the other tribe who decided for them, which I guess, like, the agency there is to, like, win the challenge, but, like, they didn't even know that this was a thing that was happening. Like, Jeff didn't tell them until after the challenge, so like, maybe there was, like, strategic, if there was a strategic reason to throw the challenge for other reasons, they wouldn't have even had that info to weigh against it. Mm-hmm. And then when they get to the journey, they don't have the agency to choose whether to play or to not play. They're forced to play. And then on top of that, the game that they're playing is literally just flipping a coin. So there's not even, like, the agency of being good at a puzzle, right? Like you could, like, whether or not you're good at a puzzle or good at a challenge or whatever is, like, it's very, very loose in terms of whether that counts as agency. But, like, here, there is none. Like, you can't roll dice, more, like, good. Like, you can't be better at being lucky at rolling dice. Like, there's no, like, oh, if only I had practiced puzzles more, or if only I was, like, smarter at puzzles. Like, there's none of that. I don't know.
No, I agree. Pretty bad. Not, I don't know. Survivor's not fair, I guess, but, like, it's dumb. This is dumb.
There's a difference between, like, saying, like, yeah, Survivor's obviously not fair, and, like, obviously, like, Justin got, like, very unlucky at multiple points during this episode. He also played poorly, I think we would say, in a couple of places that we'll talk about. Yeah. But, like, there's a difference between, like, regular Survivor is not fair, which is like, oh, you get swapped onto a bad configuration. But, like, that you can kind of potentially play yourself out of, if you're good enough. Mm-hmm. Here, there was no playing yourself out of the situation, right? Like, you could put the best Survivor player in the history, like, you could craft the best Survivor player in a lab and put them in the same situation, and they would still have a 50-50 chance of losing their vote with no agency.
Right. Yeah, so you actually did the math on everything that went wrong. What was the final outcome there?
Well, for Justin in particular, right, he has a 1 in 3 chance of being selected to go on the journey because they couldn't select Mary because Jeff said somebody who hasn't gone and won. Mary won last week. Mm-hmm. So they could choose between, say, Cedric and Justin. So 1 in 3 there for him to be selected by the Bloggy tribe to even go on the journey in the first place. Then on the journey, like I said, it was a coin flip. It was the most elaborate coin flip ever, right? Like, you're rolling 7 dice and they can make it, like, very dramatic, but, like, fundamentally it's a 50-50 shot. So 1 and 2 there. And then later in the episode at the tribal council, we have Mary plays her shot in the dark, and we'll get to the specifics of what happens at the tribal council, but it ends up hitting. She's safe. So that's a 1 in 6. So all in total, 1 in 36 chance for Justin to even be remotely in danger of going home. Because if he keeps his vote, if either Say or Cedric could go on the journey, the votes are there with him and Cedric to vote out Say. Or if Cedric goes on the journey, loses his vote, him and he's basically in the position that Cedric ends up in at the end of the episode. And presumably he would do the opposite of what Cedric does and actually, commit to voting out Say. If Say goes on the journey and loses her vote, she's just going to get eliminated, assuming that the shot in the dark still hits. So he's completely safe if he doesn't go on the journey. He's completely safe if he doesn't lose his vote, and he's completely safe if Mary's shot in the dark doesn't hit. So all 3 of those things had to go poorly, and it was a 1 in 36 chance.
Yep. And then also somehow aligning yourself with somebody who's, like, capable of making such horrendous moves, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess we could talk about that right now. Like, what is Cedric doing?
He voted for all of his tribe mates within 3 tribal councils, Ben. That's pretty impressive.
Well, he voted for all 3 of the people who are left in the game on his tribe at this current tribal council.
Nobody's doing it like Cedric.
Yeah, we do a lot of hyperbole, right? But, like, Is it like is it too soon to talk about Cedric as like one of the dumbest Survivor players of all time? This is like completely indefensible. I can't even understand this at all.
I think it's really bad, especially because you've lived with Say for 6 or what it would it be like 5 days since you've had Mary vote against her, and you've seen Say react to Mary for voting against her in the way that she has. And after all that, you vote for her 2 times and then you can't finish it. That's bad.
Yeah, and if I'm stay here, right, like I'll obviously be grateful that Cedric ends up keeping me, but like, do I really want an ally who is this like easily swayable, easily like strategically incompetent, like wishy-washy, like these are not good qualities in an ally. If I stay here, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll just run with Mary at this point because, like, at least Mary is like a seemingly a smart, strategic player who can be reasoned with, right? Like, we might not get along on a personal level, but like, I feel like as a long-term ally, it might be just better off. Like at least Mary screwing you over is more predictable because you can know that she's going to act like in a rational, strategic manner. Whereas Cedric might just do something completely idiotic that doesn't even like cross your mind as something that would happen.
I have to imagine Justin was like flabbergasted, right?
Yeah. Oh no. If I'm in that position, right, and Cedric has already voted for Say twice, like he's gone up and deliberately written Say's name down twice, and like he's done this with the knowledge that there was only 2 votes, right? Like Jeff has only read 2 votes 2 times in a row now. He only read 3 votes or 2 votes at the start when Mary, played her shot in the dark. You can do the math, right? Like this is not difficult math. It's literally counting to 2, 1, 2, right? And 2 is not equal to 3. This guy's a surgeon. You would expect him to be able to count to 2. So, like, presumably from Justin's perspective, Cedric has already made the decision 2 times in a row to prioritize keeping Justin, even with the knowledge that Justin lied to him. And then, like, seemingly, like, Say points it out to him, like, hey, Justin lied to you. And he's like, whoa, I didn't even realize that Justin lied to me. Was he asleep for the like fucking 3 previous hours? Like, what is he doing?
Yeah, and somebody said, and obviously it's Reddit, so who knows? They said they were at a viewing party with him, and he said that the deliberation took 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? If I'm Say, I'm not feeling great about it taking 2 hours. Also, I mean, I'm thankful I'm still there, but like, no way.
No, this is like the Hannah Shapiro effect, right? Where like being that wishy-washy and that like not full committing to a person or a strategy or an alliance, like you're just demonstrating that you're useless as an ally.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I don't know if we ever talked about it here, but like that was one of the things with like Ty, where it's like I could never play with Ty. I could never do it. Just
no, Ty is another good example. But I mean, like, I personally think that Hannah Shapiro in Melodies Mechanics played really well, like a solid game. But like that early tribal council where she stood at the voting booth for like 20 minutes or however long it was, deliberating over the name, writing the name, crossing it out, and then writing a different name. Like you can't do that. It just doesn't. It's a bad look. You've completely lost people's respect as a player, as an ally, by like doing something like that. It's you can't do it.
No, agreed, 100%. I don't see how Cedric goes far now.
No, well, he might go far. But he's not winning. There's no way he's winning the season.
That's true. So yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Just an insane thing to do to Justin here.
Mm-hmm.
Justin took it well, of course. But he also maybe at that point he was just like, all right, man, if you're gonna vote me off, like we saw that. And initially, like I was like, oh, why didn't Justin fight more? But now that I know it took like hours, I assume he laid out his case and it wasn't working, and he got to the point where he was just like, okay, I mean, I guess we'll get pizza after the season's over. You're gonna do what you're gonna do, Cedric. So yeah, that was wild. I think that the whole rules and like the way it came to
Yeah.
So we talked about it because this has happened before with a tie, right?
It happened last season. Yeah.
It happened last season. And I feel like we came down on like it should still be the two people can't vote.
Yes.
Again, right?
Yes. That's how it's historically been. They changed the rules last season.
Yeah. Which I don't love. But what I really don't love, and maybe they just have to formality go through it, is like it is ultimately all on Cedric anyways, because he ties it and it forces the deliberation and he's the only one who has to deliberate. So why are we doing this again?
Yeah, they literally had a pointless vote in the middle where what I said in our group chat was they gave say a cosmetic vote for one voting round that didn't actually end up mattering. Like it had no impact, and they could have just entirely skipped that because like the whole logic of it, right, is like, oh, Say has her vote, Justin doesn't have his vote, so Say's voice should matter. And then it's like, okay, well, but it actually doesn't, because Cedric is still able to force a tie, like, you know, whatever, right? I guess, like, theoretically, the way that it might matter is if there was like a fifth person here, and like that person would have sided with Say. They could have both voted the first time 2 versus 1 and canceled, like overruled Cedric, as opposed to like what otherwise could have happened, which is Cedric and like mysterious person 5 could have voted 1-1 against each other if Say didn't get that first vote. So like I see that there are situations where it does matter, but like in this situation it didn't.
In this situation it didn't, and Jeff should have just like been like, okay, this is how it's going to play out.
He needed to bring out the Cambodia blackboard and be like, hey, like, you know, normally at level 1, normally what would happen is both Say and Justin wouldn't vote because they're both part of the tie. But because Say has her vote and Justin doesn't have his vote, Say's vote actually does matter here. But because Say doesn't have the mathematical numbers to be able to overrule a potential situation of somebody voting against her, in this case, her vote actually doesn't matter, and Cedric's the only person who matters.
No, I think we should have just done that, because it's like, okay, this is just a lot of nothing.
Yeah. So like say like Mary had played an idol here and not used her shot in the dark and still was able to vote, right? Like that also would have been a similar case where Say's vote theoretically could have mattered, because Mary would have voted in the revote as well. And like theoretically, Mary and Say are able to vote together against Justin. Like, would that have happened? No, but like just pure mathematics. So yeah, I don't know. The voting rules are designed in a situation in like a part of this the design of the game where people were not regularly losing their votes.
Yes.
Like losing your vote was not a thing that happened. Like you weren't in a 4-person tribal council where 2 of the 4 people didn't have a vote.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and one person lost their vote. One person traded their vote in for immunity.
Yeah,
that's so insane.
Yeah, this is like just a fundamental issue with like pairing small tribes where there's nowhere to hide, with taking away people's votes, which is their like weapon to survive. Like you're basically being like, putting people into fight or flight mode and being like, well, there's nowhere for you to flee to because the tribes are so small, and there's nowhere for you to fight because we're, randomly taking away your vote, even though you have like with no agency in your power, right? So like, this is the result of that. You can't have both. You can either have small tribes where people are allowed to vote, or you have larger tribes, and then you can take away some votes and it won't really like severely break the game.
Right. Yeah, I don't like it, Ben, but you know, I've been saying stuff like this for the whole podcast, and it hasn't changed. So I'm not going to
Well, it
pretend.
did. It did seem to get better, right? Like
Mm,
stuff like this was happening a lot in like 41 and 42,
right.
where they were more aggressively throwing in twists and advantages and taking away votes. And it seemed like they had like kind of tamped down on that by like 45, 46, 47, and then seemingly into this season as well. But now we've had two back-to-back journeys. We're going into the swap with Bianca having lost her vote, and we have three advantages, an idol, and then a potential idol. Also, if a star doesn't get the idol, she also has lost her vote. So either two lost votes, three advantages, or an idol, or one lost vote, three advantages, and two idols headed into a swap. It's like, this is way too much shit 4 episodes into the season.
Agreed. And I think that, in the future, Survivor goes on 60, 70 seasons. This will be known as just like the advantage era,
Mhm.
where just like it got way too crazy. We need a market adjustment to bring it all back, down a bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have much else to add for this one. How about you?
I did like the strategy that Mary employed here,
Yeah.
where she's basically like, I don't think that I'll be able to find the idol. I don't think I have enough time between now and tribal to find the idol. So I'm just going to like go all in on this like elaborate bluff to try to basically like invoke paranoia and then maybe say to something rash, which she didn't do. She almost did, but she didn't do because she didn't actually have to. Obviously, she didn't know she didn't have to because she didn't know that Justin lost his vote. So it ended up working out for her because Justin had lost his vote. But like, if he hadn't and she didn't follow through and this had played out, like she's gone. I mean, yeah, very. It's kudos to her. Kudos to Mary for like kind of making that kind of heads up play. I think people like don't kind of do these large scale bluffs often enough. I think they're effective, like basically like playing mind games with people.
Yeah, man. Shout out Rupert for being one of the pioneers.
Yeah, pioneer for sure of taking a paranoid aggressive player and like play mind games with them to try to like save yourself.
Yeah, and I think listen to Mike White Was Robbed, my episode of it, where I said that is one of the most influential moments in the history of the show. And here we are still being influenced by it, Ben.
Yep.
So I don't know what that says. I don't care too much about Survivor, probably.
No, it's good. I think it's great. I mean, I think like we've seen a lot of telling and not showing about Mary being a good player because we haven't really seen a lot of it. Like she was immediately on the outs, hasn't really been in control of anything. Lost her vote at the the journey, and was like the likely vote out this 5 out of 6 universes she's voted out this episode. But I think that was like a good way to show us that she has the chops to be like a good player, in maybe different circumstances. And leading into a swap,
I think find out. Yeah,
we're going to potentially find out.
Yeah, no, I think Mary has turned into a very fun, rootable underdog.
Yep,
and love that. We need that on the show as much as you need a villain, hero, and all that.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I think like whatever you want to say about disaster tribes, I think both of us are very kind of over them at this point. But coming out of this tribe with both Say and Mary as like really compelling characters.
Yeah, it worked out very well for us.
Yes. I mean, look, I would say if anything, like the show got lucky in the way this played out, and it shouldn't have played out this way.
Yes. Yeah, and so Jenny wanted me to bring this up. She's like, yeah, I saw people like on TikTok being like, Say like bullied him into not. It's like, first of all, Say cannot bully a 50-year-old man. That's insane.
I would say emotionally manipulated. I wouldn't say
emotionally manipulated. But second of all, fine. She's playing for $1 million. I
Mhm.
want her to do that. I want her to fight and say whatever. And if she needs to emotionally manipulate
Mhm.
somebody to stay in a game for $1 million, that's what you got to do.
Mhm. Also, the running defense on idle hunts, and I
Mhm.
like her like getting upset at Justin and Cedric when they were
Yeah.
just kind of laying around doing nothing all day and not helping her run defense on Mary.
Yeah. Ben wouldn't have found all those idols if Say was out there by himself, anyways.
Mhm.
Rick Evans wouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean Ben would have been like, I need some space at my favorite spot where I think about my family, and Say would have been like, fuck you, Ben, I don't care.
Yeah.
You can think about your family in front of me.
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, big fan of Say, honestly.
No, yeah, no, Say is great. I really I think assuming she goes relatively far in the season, I think possible lock for 50.
Yes, agreed. So yeah, that's all I got. How about you?
Yeah, I think that there were some like really interesting parts of this episode, but the like two kind of big glaring things from this episode really like soured it for me. And maybe the season will fix itself from here, and they won't send them on a fourth journey or whatever, and inject three more advantages into the game. And maybe there won't be any more really stupid tribal councils where like the rules don't make sense. So we'll see. I still have like some faith for the season. I think there's a lot of good stuff here, but this definitely like made it take a hit for me.
No, I think that's totally fair. Well, anything you want to promote before we get out of here?
No, not really. I'm on Blue Sky, but I barely use it. I did tweet about, or I guess post on Blue Sky about the episode, I think twice last night, because I was so frustrated with how it worked and how it played out. And I was basically like, Jeff is making up the rules as he goes.
Did feel like that.
Yeah, but I don't really use it beyond like posting maybe once every week or two. So.
All right, well, follow Ben on Blue Sky. I'm also on Blue Sky. I also don't use it much. I actually use the We Could Get Everything account more because I just post, the stuff that I'm posting on other social media on it. So if you want to follow We Could Get Everything on Blue Sky, it's there. As well as, X and Facebook and YouTube, of course. Just dropped a new video about The Last of Us, the reception to the game, and why I think the reception to the television show adaptation will be better because of the mediums that the story, even though it's the same story, was being told through. I think it's a good video. Hopefully you will too. So go
I
check
watched
it
it.
out.
It was good.
Thank you. It's just fun to write something about, not a super trending topic, but something that's kind of been on my mind for a little while. And my hope for season 2 of Last of Us and the reception that it will get. But yeah, so check that out. We Could Get Everything. We have our sports channel, We Could Get Sports, and This Is Better Radio, which has all of our podcasts. And we also have Fake Nerds. I just did a video talking about an article where a Ubisoft shareholder, a prominent one, is doing a protest outside of their office in France because it came out that they've been talking to EA and Microsoft about selling some of their IPs without telling their shareholders that. So that was interesting, I thought. So if you want to get my thoughts on that, check that out on those Fake Nerds. Try to do more longish videos because it's tough to get YouTube channels off the ground, Ben. Forgot when you start from zero, it's really hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've gotten a lot of good views on some of the recent videos, so hopefully
hopefully that keeps going, especially for the main channel. Trying for that to deliver content within the niche of video game op-eds, so people know what to expect, essentially. So yeah. Other than that, thank you all for listening, and we will see you in the next one.